was growing up in Manhattan, Kansas, I prided myself as a nonconformist. I didn't follow along with the crowd. I wasn't afraid to try some weird clothing trends and hairstyles. I was outspoken and extremely social. Even these pictures and postcards of my London semester abroad 17 years ago show that I obviously didn't care if I was perceived as different or weird. Sorry, nieces, I know you're out there, Nora and Tessa, so just ignore that. But that same year I was studying abroad in London, I realized something about myself that actually was somewhat unique, and that changed everything. I became the opposite of who I thought I once was. I stayed in my room instead of socializing. I stopped engaging in clubs and leadership activities. I didn't want to stand out in the crowd anymore. At the time, I told myself it was because I was growing up and maturing, not that I was suddenly looking for acceptance. I'd always assumed I was immune to needing acceptance. After all, I was a bit unconventional. But I realize now that the moment I realized something was different about me was the exact same moment that I began conforming and hiding. Hiding is a progressive habit, and once you start hiding, it becomes harder and harder to step forward and speak out. So it was fitting and very scary that last November, I flew back to London and I stood on a stage in front of 350 of my coworkers to reveal what I had been hiding for 16 years from other people and denying to myself. I revealed that I am a lesbian. I had struggled for so many years to say those words because I didn't want to be defined by them. Every time I would think about coming out in the past, I would say to myself, but I just want to be known as Morgana, uniquely Morgana, but not my lesbian friend Morgana or my gay coworker Morgana, just Morgana. I was paralyzed by my fear of not being accepted, and I'm not alone. A 2013 Deloitte study found that a surprisingly large number of employees hide aspects of their identity while at work. Of all the employees they surveyed, 61% reported changing some aspect of their behavior or appearance in order to fit in at work. Of all the self-identified gay, lesbian, and bisexual people, 83% admitted to changing some aspect of themselves because they didn't want to appear too gay at work. The study even found that companies that had great diversity policies and inclusion programs, employees still felt that they needed to hide because they felt conformity was critical in order to advance their career. And while I was surprised that so many people just like me were using so much energy to hide aspects of themselves at work, I was scared when I realized that my hiding had life or death consequences and long-term social repercussions. 12 years. The length by which life expectancy is shortened for gay, lesbian, and bisexual people in highly anti-gay communities compared to accepting communities. 12 years reduced life expectancy. When I read that statistic in The Advocate magazine in June of 2014, I knew that I could no longer afford to keep silent. The effects of personal stress and social stigmas are a deadly combination. The study found that gays had higher rates of heart-related disease, suicide, and violence. What I once thought was simply a personal matter, I then realized had a ripple effect that was going out into the workplace and community for every story just like mine. I also realized that my choice to hide and not share who I really am may have been inadvertently contributing to this exact same atmosphere of discrimination. I'd always told myself there was no reason to share that I was gay. But the idea that my silence had social consequences was really driven home last year when I missed an opportunity to change the atmosphere of discrimination in my own home state of Kansas. In June of 2014, the Kansas House of Representatives brought up a bill for vote that would have essentially allowed businesses to use religious freedom as a reason to deny gays services. A former coworker of mine has a father that serves in the Kansas House of Representatives, and he voted in favor of that bill, in favor of a potential law that would have allowed businesses to deny me services. How does my friend feel about lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people? How does her father feel? I don't know, because I was never honest with them about who I am. And that shakes me to the core. What if I had told her my story years ago? Could she have told her father about my personal experience? Could I have ultimately helped change his vote? I will never know. And that made me realize I had done nothing to try and make a difference. How ironic that I work in human resources, a profession that works to welcome, connect, and encourage the development of employees, a profession that advocates the diversity of society should be reflected in the workplace. And yet I had done nothing to try and advocate for diversity. When I came to my company, State Street, 1 year before I came out, I looked online at their website and I said to myself, this company has anti-discrimination policies that protect gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. Their commitment to diversity is evident through their global inclusion programs. When I walk through the doors of this company, I will finally come out. But I didn't. Instead of taking advantage of that opportunity, I did nothing. But what was I waiting for, really? The LGBTQIA committee to meet me at the front door with some balloons? I am not waiting anymore. I know that it is my responsibility to create opportunities for the next person who walks through those doors. When I was looking through my scrapbook from my London semester abroad, now 17 years ago, I came across this modified quote from Toni Morrison's book, Paradise. There are more scary things inside than outside. And I wrote this note to myself 1 week after I arrived in London. And I'm sure I was trying to encourage myself to get out and explore London at the time, but the message I missed was the need to start exploring and embracing myself. What I didn't realize until all these years later is that the greatest obstacles I will ever have to overcome are my own fears and insecurities. And that truth has manifested since I came out last November. I have been contacted by hundreds of people, and many of them have shared their own hiding and covering stories with me. And of all those people, they've all been extremely kind and supportive and caring. And some of those stories include hiding the fact that they are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer. One woman shared with me that she doesn't share at work that she was a teen mother at one time because she's afraid she'll be looked upon badly at work. But that one of the most touching ones was that a woman didn't want to share the fact that she was going through cancer treatments with her family and friends because she didn't want them to just know her as a cancer survivor. When I stepped forward to share my authentic self, a transformation occurred. I've always thought it was cliche to say, oh, you feel physically different when you come out, but I can remember flying back in from London last November and driving into my home state of Kansas and feeling physically lighter and free. So many wonderful events have transpired for me. My work has encouraged and supported me. I started my own LGBTQIA employee resource group in my Kansas City office. I proudly marched in my first gay pride parade this summer in Boston. I also proudly wear my rainbow-colored Nike Be True sneakers to work. But most importantly, I have ventured out to find new friends, and I have been lucky enough to even find true love. I recently read a wonderful quote that captures a primary lesson I've learned during my experience. Clarity comes from engagement, not thought. I spent years thinking through and second-guessing my authentic core. I had to stop thinking and start acting if I were to ever live a truly meaningful life. Was it hard? Was there risk? Absolutely. But I truly believe now I am a better person, and my company absolutely has a better employee. Thank you. Thank you.